and was only suitable for people aged 18 or over, will almost certainly have an adult theme, and might well contain sex or violence, which are quite graphic. It may also contain explicit language, including sexual swear words. Thanks for listening.
But here's what his revelation comes to him. He's kind of got all this stuff like touching, wiping, mourning of the animals.
Not wiping, whipping.
Yeah. Also not touching.
I am dyslexic. I hope I'm not having like a stroke.
Do it live! Fuck it! Do it live!
And an atheist almost always becomes supporters of eugenics and abortion.
A swine is hungry for nuts. Jesus hates him too.
Satan is real.
Being a Satanist is an open declaration of revolt against counterproductive received wisdom and mindless rogue tradition.
Decapitate her head off.
We're done. You're done.
Obama!
Welcome to the Godless Rebelution. Today is Wednesday, March 22nd. This is episode 149.
It's always Wednesday.
Not always. Sometimes it's Mondays.
Every time I'm here, it's Wednesday.
Sometimes it's Tuesday. And in a couple of months, it'll be...
We don't know what day.
Thursday, maybe?
Well, because what do I go after this? After this, I go to a different schedule.
I think you go to like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah, it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next, yeah.
So it'd be that we would record either Sunday or Thursday.
Yeah.
Probably Thursday would be better. I don't know what your guys' schedule. We didn't talk about that off air.
We can.
Okay. On tonight's episode, we had a great interview with Yvette D'Entremont.
Yes.
Had?
The SciBabe. Yes, had.
Yeah, because we're doing everything out of order, but out of order to them too as well.
They don't know.
There's
no,
there's no order to our disorder.
Okay.
No, we had an awesome, very long, very just chatty, relaxed conversation with Yvette. Mm-hmm. She is super cool. If you don't know her, you're going to have a great time this episode. If you do know her, you're going to have an even better time. And if you don't know her, you should get to know her more by following her in all the places because she's fucking funny.
Super fun.
And smart.
Chipper, bubbly.
Yeah. Super awesome.
Yeah, she's cool.
I loved having her on the show. She was a really fun guest.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you who are listening to the free version of the show, you'll hear us talk about Zelda.
Yes.
Our Patreon patrons will get some extended content for this show that will let you know exactly what Zelda is. It was kind of it came up during our pre-interview banter with Yvette, and I think you'll think it's kind of funny. So if you want to become a Patreon patron, now's the time to do it. You can figure out what Zelda, you'll hear what Zelda is.
I don't think they'll think it's funny. I guarantee they will at least have a chuckle.
And if you're already a Patreon patron, thank you so much. If you still cannot become a Patreon patron, please share the show with your friends. Share the links and rate us on all of the things that keeps the show in the eye of those people who are out on the interwebs looking for other shows. If they see that a show has been rated or has several ratings, then that pushes us higher in the ranking for results that people may be looking for or for other shows that they may listen to that are similar. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Also subscribe. That helps us as well.
Yes. Please do that. And follow us on the Facebook and on our Twitters and all of the places. We would love to have you do that. We've got some listener feedback.
Ooh, feedback. Feedback is not good sometimes, but always good when it's from a listener.
Sure.
I was thinking of microphone feedback. That's
yeah.
That's a bad feedback.
Yeah, we had the Atheist of Utah brunch on Sunday. And I do this. I have a wireless mic with my speaker deal. The wireless mic hooks into this thing that is not wireless that I've got to plug into the speaker. But then to test the volume, I have to walk in front of the speaker.
You don't want
and I have to be a certain distance away from the speaker before I attempt to test the sound. Yeah. Otherwise, there's a ton of feedback and it's not good. So then I'm just fucking pacing back and forth, trying to find the right volume, pacing away, checking it out, pacing back, turning it up or down, going back and forth. I need somebody to stand at the fucking box is what I'm saying, man.
You should just set the microphone down with a recording on your phone and play the recording into the microphone while it sits there, then stand back and see how it sounds.
It's a good idea. I wasn't expecting somebody to give me some actually valuable advice on how to handle this.
You might say.
Yes,
That's some good feedback.
Yes. Thanks, Ryan.
You're welcome.
That's a stellar idea. Brilliant.
That was South African.
Was it?
I don't know. I haven't even heard from those guys, so we'll see.
Dan Morris sent me. Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Daniel Morris sent me a message saying that because I called him Mr. Daniel Morris, I'm now going to be fucking demoted.
Oh,
I actually heard when I listened to that episode. I was getting into the shower and I'm like, oh shit, he's a doctor.
Yeah. So he said he said something like, I think you mean doctor, and this will require a demotion.
Yeah, and see, and this is why we do your voice posh. There's nothing blue collar about you at all.
We did get an email from a listener in Arizona, Dane Hansen, or not Arizona. Sorry. I saw
an A?
Yeah.
It's almost the same.
Listener Dane Hansen said, "Hi, gentlemen. Just a quick email to say that I definitely listen to you guys, even though you're in the U.S. and I'm here in Oz. I love the show and have been listening for a few years now. I do enjoy the shit show that is your political environment. It makes our politics seem lame."
Tame. Is it tame or lame?
Tame.
Yeah, okay. I'm the furthest away from it, so.
Anyway, I will
you
keep
moved
this
to that
short.
spot so you could read
Cheers.
it better.
I didn't, but it's tiny text, and it's late at night, and I've got the allergies. I'm very congested.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Hansen. Dr. Hansen, perhaps. I don't know. I don't want to get demoted. But yeah, we appreciate the feedback.
Huh.
It's a feedback-heavy intro.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Ryan
does those every once in a while.
Ooh.
When I hear the episode, there's just oohs and ahs throughout.
That's kind of I make noises. I even do it at work, and people get confused. Like, what do you want? I'm like, I'm just making a noise.
Well, so I'm curious. So Dane must have responded because
we made the comment last episode. We didn't know if you had listeners in Australia.
We have at least the one, right? But we didn't know if we had any more. Because we were doing our terrible stupid accents over there, right?
Well, we were afraid we lost them.
And he didn't even comment on that at all.
So we did it. Well, he probably thought we're trying to be European.
Well, I think that must mean we're doing excellently.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Well, and yeah,
let us know. I'm sure they're great, mate.
We also received a rating in the comment from Celia Gray. If you love blasphemous podcasts such as Utah Outcasts, The Scathing Atheist, and Cognitive Dissonance podcasts, you will love Godless Rebelution. Join the revolution. They have coffee and donuts. Winky face emoji.
I like it.
Thank you very much, Celia. That was very kind of you. Please, everybody else, go out and rate the show and leave comments and stuff. That's awesome. Thank you very much. We have a couple of stories that we will be getting to as well at the end of the episode for Patreon patrons. So the rest of you on the other side of this quick little break will hear our interview with Yvette.
This is Matt Dillahunty, and you're listening to the Godless Rebelution.
The next rant will start right after this.
Here follows a public service announcement for the Two Skeptical Chaps podcast. Greetings, Americans! Over here in London, we are well aware that not all of you are loud, xenophobic, racist, sexist, religious nuts.
But many of your politicians who display these frightful traits seem to be quite popular.
Particularly a certain wall-obsessed, small-handed, best-word-using, daughter-perving, war-inciting, candy-floss-headed clown.
To those of you who choose to follow such balderdash, we strongly recommend not to listen to the Two Skeptical Chaps.
It probably won't be your cup of tea.
Otherwise, give us a listen.
Each episode, we cover any news or current affairs from across the globe.
Things that annoy or delight us.
That's two, as in the number 2.
And skeptical with a K.
The wrong way to spell it. Cheerio!
Getting to know you getting to know all about you, getting to like you, getting to hope you like me.
Well, on the line with us right now, we have Yvette d'Entremont. I'm sure I still murdered that because it's fucking French, man.
Nope, you got it wonderfully. I'm very happy with that.
For those of you who are unaware of Yvette's awesomeness, she is a scientist, a skeptic, a writer, a public speaker, and all-around badass. How are you doing tonight?
I'm fabulous, and since we've been chatting for a few minutes, and I've been making pussy jokes. We've been having a great time.
Well, that's out there.
I figured let's just jump right into what we've been giggling about for a few minutes. Let's lower the bar, lower it.
Oh, that's pretty hard on this show.
A lot of our audience are Zelda fans. It's fine.
It's we do and I love Zelda so much.
Oh, that's awesome. We've got an inside joke.
We're gonna keep that way inside.
Like Gwyneth Paltrow's eggs. That far inside.
They're gonna be people coming up to me at AA Con being like, "The fuck is Zelda?" I'll be like, "Oh, you're coming to the after party now."
Look in my purse.
My purse is only so big, okay? Just like Gwyneth Paltrow's pussy. Oh!
I pictured hers as more like a Mary Poppins bag. Just all the stuff she puts in there.
It's like Narnia. It just keeps going on forever.
A kid could get lost in there.
Oh,
Narnia.
Maybe she's got another one that's going to pop out anytime. She just doesn't know it yet because it's like hidden behind one of the eggs.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. We've either confused or really amused your audience, and I don't know which one it is yet.
Not mutually exclusive.
Oh, this is true.
Could be both.
It's going to be an interesting review for this show.
I think it's going swimmingly.
It's awesome. Yes. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get started in skepticism and science and everything?
I got into this. I mean, how far back do we want to go? I mean, it was a cold, it was a rainy night in 1983, and I swam out of my mother's yoni, as Gwyneth Paltrow would. Crazy. Sorry, that's going back way too far. So I like to say it started with the worst headache of my life, which was Gwyneth Paltrow. No,
I thought you were going to say Vani Hari.
Oh yeah, no, eventually. No, I got a headache one day and it never went away. It was actually, March 7th of, 2010. Got a really bad headache and it didn't, go away. And that will make you a little desperate for some pain relief.
Oh yeah.
I was working with, doctors and trying to be evidence-based. And I was, I had doctors tell me everything from, it's cluster headaches, which it really wasn't. And like the rare headache breeds are very hard to medicate. And, you'll have a breed of headache or a variant of a headache that even headache specialists haven't seen in a career or don't see in a career. And that was the type that I had. I had a headache variant that was very, very rare. And it took, you go to 8 different doctors, you get 8 different diagnoses. I had one doctor tell me it was all in my head. I'm like, well, yes, it's a headache.
It is.
I'm like, that is the definition
doctor, you're
of the
so
phrase.
astute.
I mean, it was a long time of trying to figure out what was going on. And while I was working with, science-based clinicians, I also started Googling, and the mother of all fuckery is Googling, as I found.
Yeah.
And, I was trying so hard to be evidence-based, and I didn't know what a bad bit of evidence was on the internet yet. I hadn't really steeped myself in skepticism, and it was, oh my God, I was like maybe, and at the time I was very overweight. So of course, with everybody, with all of the alternative medicine blogs out there, the thought, sparked in my brain, maybe the fat on my thighs is causing the pain in my face. This made logical sense. And I did lose a lot of weight, which I, needed to for overall health, which, was good. But at the same time, I fell into all the food fuckery that was out there. It was like, maybe I should go non-GMO and organic and vegan. I mean, I went full tilt woo. And at one point my doctor was happy with my weight loss at first. And I lost about 75 pounds. And then, I was down to a healthy weight. I ran a couple marathons. I did the full package, like everything you're supposed to do to get in shape. And then, and I was at a healthy weight. And then I lost another 15 pounds in a month after I was already at a healthy weight. And my doctor, she said something to me that was very, jarring. And I was at that point where I was reading every label on everything that I picked up at the store to see if it had canola or GMO soy or anything bad for me in it. And if it had anything, a shred of anything in it that was possibly causing my face pain, because of course anything on the shelf that had a shred of a GMO was killing me. This has sugar in it. That's a GMO. Everything.
Any ingredient you can't pronounce.
Oh yeah, that was killing me. I fell right into the food babe woo. And eventually my doctor, because I was having regular checkups because of my headaches, I go to her office and she looks at me and said, and this doctor had known me for over a decade at this point. She'd known me since I was a teenager. She looks at me and says, "Do you have a self-esteem problem?" Oh shit. That was nobody had, I didn't have my body I didn't have any body dysmorphia. So, I was quite fortunate on that, but that was a bit of a shake up to me, because my doctor, who had been very happy with all of the, the healthy changes I'd made in my diet, suddenly was a little freaked out by how thin I'd gotten. Yeah. It was that was never, because I was always kind of chubby. That was never a thing that had been said to me. It was I'm doing something wrong here. So, finally around that time, my headaches were properly managed. I found, a neurologist who understood the type of headache I had, got onto the right medications. I'm like, I'm going to try eating a GMO and see what happens. And, around not that long after that, I also got a job at a pesticide company. Oh shit, dog.
Working for the evil corp.
Oh yeah, and it was not Monsanto. It was a company called AMVAC. And it's all right, if pesticides are causing this, then I'm gonna fucking die. Right. But I also learned a lot about the regulations that go into this. These things are tested crazy. If we have one machine that isn't giving us test results to within a fraction of a percentage of accuracy every single time the same vial is run, then you have to recalibrate it, and recalibrate it again and again to make sure your results are accurate. And you would hold up pesticide regulation, in a country that's waiting on their results for a month to make sure that the results were accurate. So, and I was just one cog in the machine, but seeing how accurate those results had to be. And we were, I was testing for safety, and to make sure that the pesticides didn't break down into anything like dioxins, that they, which is a very unsafe byproduct. I was testing to make sure that those dioxins weren't above certain thresholds, that the pesticides were safe, that the things that we were mixing them with, for the final formulations were safe and were, stable. And it was amazing to me that, all these rumors I was reading online from people like the Food Babe that not that long before, I had followed, I was right before my eyes, I was seeing everything debunked from the inside. I'm like, really? This was all bullshit? I spent all that time worrying and about all of this and none of it was true? I was just gobbling it up. I'm like, all of the stuff that I was so worried about had nothing to do with my headaches. Yeah. Around that time, Vani Hari she'd gone from from having, you know, a little bit of fame, like, to kind of exploding every single time that she put out another one of these, this company has a chemical that I can't pronounce because dictionaries are hard. You know, like, it's, you know, every time she put out another press release, it got a ton of media attention. And there was a big difference between how, like, Vani was working and people like, David, you know, Guacamole Fox. David Avocado Wolf, you know, and he's so that he has such fabulous hair, you know, and people like Merkala, you know, who's, you know, like, they all have the same bullshit. But Vani Hari, she was kind of becoming a media darling. Mm-hmm. She's a terrible writer, and I'm still kind of mad about this. She's a terrible writer, and she has been published in the New York Times twice. Ew. Twice. I'm very angry about that, for the record. Come on, New York Times,
you have
call
to fix
me.
That.
Exactly. And it's like, but she was, you know, there are a lot of woo mongers out there, but she was getting a lot of media attention. And it was like, you know, she was pulling an Icarus. She flew a little too close to the sun. She wanted it to be famous, and and she was getting her message out there in the mainstream, and it was just being accepted. And therein lied the crux of the issue, is that she was out there everywhere, and she was on CNN, for fuck's sake. I'm like, this is a bit of a problem. And that's why she was being called out so hard by the skeptic community, is that it was very transparent that she was using this as a money-making operation. And her method of doing this was very easy to call out. So I wasn't the first one who called it out. And I'll say this time and again, because a lot of people have said that, you know, I'm trying to take credit for other skeptics' work. I'm like, no, I just happen to be the one that people paid attention to when I said it. And I think it's the swearing. Say fuck, people will listen. But, you know, it's like there are a lot of other journalists who called her out too. I just happened to be the one that, you know, that cracked the public's perception that, you know, there was something wrong with what she was saying. And I think it's just, you know, be funny and people will listen.
Yeah.
But that was, you know, I wrote an article that people listened to when it came to Vani Hari, and that was, you know, it was after about 7 months of writing about her on my blog, and it was, you know, thanks to one editor at Gawker that reached out and said, her email to me literally said, I love you possibly more than I hate the food babe. I'm like, I like you. And, nice. And she told me, I found out later, she found me by Googling food babe and takedown. Okay. And nice. that was how she found my blog. And I've been writing with her everywhere that she's worked as an editor ever since. So that was how that came to be. And it was really surprising because I had left my job as a chemist to start kind of trying to turn this into a full-time thing. And that launched it all. Like, I got a book deal off of that. I've been, you know, I'm still in the editing process for that right now. And I've been, you know, working steadily as a writer and public speaker for science and, you know, trying to, you know, just doing the skeptic thing and the, you know, speaker for science full time. So that's how it all started, with the headache.
It all started with the headache and Vani Hari being the actual shill that I'm sure you're accused of being.
Oh yeah. And I keep telling people this. It's like, look, if I were a shill, one day, like, I would, if I really wanted to just make money, one day I would see the light. The Lord Jesus would come down upon me and touch me. He would touch my soul with his organic-y goodness. I would see the light. I would preach it. I would preach it, Brother Dan. I would preach it. I would tell you to buy into the biodynamic-y goodness of the organic kale and quinoa. I would tell you, Brother Dan. I would tell you, Brother Dan, that you need to buy into organic, and you would buy it, and it would be good for my paycheck. I mean, don't.
Oh my God! But you need to give a talk in that voice at the next con for sure.
Oh, I'm going to be speaking at AA Con. Like, I think that David Silverman might murder me if I do that. But I don't know if that would be culturally appropriative or not, but it'd be. But
that at least funny. Needs to be a YouTube video. Just get a little pulpit there, get a green screen behind you, and put the church behind you, and go to town.
Dave's a really nice guy. I think if you talk to him, he might be on board with that.
I'll see if I can sneak in, if he'll let me do a 10-minute, thing at, like, for nighttime entertainment.
Yeah, right.
Be like, I've been, the life of a shill, seeing the light or something like that. But it's like, but I've said this a few times whenever I get a shill accusation. I'm like, motherfucker, look, like, I have struggled to, like, when this thing first took off, I struggled to make ends meet. At one point when we didn't, like, I was already getting shill accusations and, like, I hadn't made a cent off of this. Other than like literally a $50 speaking fee that I didn't even know I was going to get. And, one of my friends who had asked me to come speak was like, here's $50. It's all we can give you. But I was like, hey, cool. Like, I didn't realize they were going to pay me anything. That was long before I'd made anything off of this. And I was already getting shill accusations. Like, I say this every few months. I'm like, if I were to start shilling for anything, like, because like, we've seen people want bullshit, like they want the comforting narrative that goes along with it, like, because that thought that you can treat everything in your life with green juice and with nature, that is so much more comforting than take this drug that you have no idea how it works, doctors aren't quite sure how it works, but hey, we've kind of seen it work, take that instead. Like, that is not a comforting narrative at all. Science doesn't sound comforting. It's if you don't know how it works, if you're not trained in it. Nature sounds comforting as fuck though, doesn't it? Here, take these pine needles. It gets rid of everything in your system. Cool, I'll do that. Like, and I mean, that's part of the reason why, and I mean, I was talking to a few of my fitness trainer friends for this article I'm working on Gwyneth Paltrow. It's like, why does Gwyneth sell? And it's my friend Alex Beata, the man lifts amounts of weights that makes Wolverine blush, okay? And it's I mean, literally he can deadlift 700 pounds. I'm like, holy shit, the guy, if I ever need a smart car moved, I'm calling Alex. And he said, he's like, the reason why people like Gwyneth Paltrow and her partner, her business partner / trainer, Tracy Anderson, sell is because they don't sound snarky. They sound like they're on your side, and they sound like they're going to help you with something that, that works. And they don't reach out. They don't have any of that condescension, like, I have science, I'm better than you. They sound like they just kind of figured something out that works.
They're folksy.
And yeah, exactly. And I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, science does kind of sound condescending at times if you don't find a way to reach people with science in a tone that works. And I always say I try to reach people where they are. Like, that's why I write in Cosmo. That's why I write with a lot of humor, because you know what people like? Dick jokes. Like, true. I mean,
yeah.
It's
and,
like
and farts. We've got a show for the last 3 years based on dick jokes.
And this is why we're new best friends. I'm just saying.
Hey, anyone who swallows before responding after we say dick jokes is a friend of our show.
I mean, I was just having a sip of fluids, but still, I think it should be mandatory to swallow before telling a dick joke now. I think that's, I think that's that. I'm just going to claim that I meant to do that one. There we go. That's better for comic timing.
Hi, this is Justin Schieber, formerly of the Reasonable Doubts podcast and currently of Real Atheology, and you are listening to the Godless Rebelution.
Hey everybody, this is X.
And I'm Kyle.
And I'm Felicia. We're the Utah Outcasts.
3 out, unashamed, and active atheists living in Utah.
And we are personally inviting you to let us love your ears each and every week.
As we take the news, current events, and pop culture and give it a little twist.
A love twist, with consent.
And we'll be joined each week by a special guest to tell us what makes them an outcast like us.
Come find us.
The Utah Outcasts.
On podhell.com, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play,
Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
And on UtahOutcast.com.
We finally bought that domain off the kids handing out mixtapes in the mall.
Come be an outcast with us.
Take care of yourselves out there.
Bonne nuit.
And you're welcome.
Thanks for listening. Now back to the show.
But yeah, it's like, I think that scientists, when they're attempting to reach out, need to remember to do a few things. One is that we need to remember to speak in English, not in the language of science. Like and that's so important. Like people shouldn't feel like they have to look up vocabulary words in order to understand what you're talking about. Right. And this is something I've seen some science communicators who I love. I love them as people, but I think they need to understand where their fatal flaw is sometimes. Like, it's this thing that SciComm people, they want you to know that they know this big fancy word. I'm like, that's nice. I'm like, I'm glad you know a word. Good for you. I know a lot of words too. I have a master's in knowing these words. But this does not help my audience feel like they understand the subject. It doesn't make them feel empowered. It doesn't make them feel smarter. It doesn't make them feel closer to the science at all. What people need to do is walk away from an article feeling like they're more comfortable with the subject, feeling like the science isn't scary anymore. So if you throw in a bunch of 50-cent words, then they're going to walk away going, that number one, that writer's a prick. Number two, science sucks because I don't know anything else. So write in a language that I like to say that a smart, interested 15-year-old will understand. And that is and write in something write something interesting. So like, this is why I say I love crack.com. It's one of my favorite websites, because even if I'm not interested in the subject matter before I read an article on there, I'll love everything that I read on there because they make the articles entertaining. If you write an entertaining article, then the subject matter is going to be entertaining, for the reader. So that's kind of what I try to do with my articles is the science is almost secondary to the jokes. And I mean, it's like you can kind of weave them together so that people are going to love both the science and the writing. And that's how you make people get interested in the science is you make the subject and you make the personality behind it interesting and relatable.
That's why I like Neil deGrasse Tyson so much.
Yes.
I think he's one guy that does a very good job of, he'll say the big word and say the big thing, but then go, okay, now I'm going to say it again. So you can understand what I'm talking about more clearly.
It's accessible. Mm-hmm.
He's accessible to scientists and he's accessible to people who are, 13 and going, all right, I think the sky is pretty. What's happening in the sky? Mm-hmm. And it's like, and I'm not a cosmologist. I'm not an astrophysicist. I have astrophysicist friends who make me not feel so dumb about astrophysics. And I barely know anything about astrophysics, but Neil deGrasse Tyson makes me want to know more about it. And that's the beautiful thing about it is that a good science communicator makes you feel smarter and more passionate about a subject than you did, 10 minutes ago. Mm-hmm. And Neil gives it that touch of magic and that touch of funny. And that's exactly what you want from a good person. And I feel like I'm just somebody telling dick jokes half the time. It's like, if I can get that touch of magic from Neil, it's like, please reach out with your magic and make me, a little bit more magical at this. But I'm just, for now, I'm just flailing with dick jokes. That's all I got. That'll be the name of my podcast one day, Flailing with Dick Jokes. But no, he's, and that's the thing is like, he makes people feel inspired by science. Yeah. I think that's the beautiful thing about it. And science needs that. It needs people people that make non-scientists see there's beauty in this, and there's more than just numbers and flashing lights. There's something inspiring and beautiful in it, and that's so wonderful about it.
Oh yeah, he's always so enthusiastic. Like he just gets people charged up. Like you can go and hear Neil deGrasse Tyson talk, or even just watch him on a show, and he's so fucking entertaining and exciting and in love with what he does that it makes everybody else feel that way too, and they get excited about it.
Yep. If there's, you never feel for a moment that Neil deGrasse Tyson has ever had a day where he's like, fuck it, I don't want to do science today. This shit sucks. And that's wonderful. And it's like, and it's funny because I've kind of switching gears for a quick moment. I wonder when the woo artists, have started kind of attempting badly, to science. Have they ever, I don't think they've ever, cause they try to present what they do as science, without ever subjecting their bullshit to the hard rigors that science have to go through. I wonder if any of them have ever, a lot of them have not gone through we as scientists go through with our research. And it's like, I wonder if we could ever like push them through, like bring them through a science class, show them here is what the research process actually is. If they would ever have an aha moment like that where they go, oh, this is how science really works. It's months of research, years of research sometimes before you ever actually see the value of your work pan out.
I wonder about that. Like, it seems to me that too many people are just in it for the easy answer, right? I mean, that's what they get with religion. That's what they get with bullshit talking points on the right. They just want to think that they know they have the answer. They don't want to have to put all of these qualifiers on anything they say that scientists have to use all the time, you know, like, oh, our best estimate, or based on the things that we know so far, this is what we think, or this is, you know, our current hypothesis. They don't want any hemming and hawing and half answers for anything. They want to know something, and they want to know it right now. And it has to be something that they can, you know, put on their little notepad and stick it to their forehead. And
I think they also use the science out of context as well, as far as with saying, oh, well, this has this chemical in it, and they say that's bad for you, and now that has the same chemical in it, so that must be killing you, like with the anti-vaccine.
Subway sandwiches have yoga mat stuff in them.
Yeah. Yoga's bad.
Oh, it is, but still. No, I can't. No, I like yoga. It's for all the jokes I make about putting hashtag namaste and everything. I kind of like yoga, but moving on. No, I think that, if people don't understand what science is or how the research process on things work, because I think people think, that science, like if you ask a non-scientist what science is, and you ask a scientist what science is, you get two very different answers. Like, and I'm gonna be doing this at the March for Science, because I'm gonna be speaking at the March for Science, Kansas City.
Awesome.
And it's, for one of the places I write for, they asked, do you want to do something for us at the March for Science? I'm like, yes. I'm going to be, walking around with probably just my iPhone 7 on a selfie stick, because it's the easiest way to do these types of interviews, and just ask people, you know, kind of, you know, man on the street type questions. And I'm going to ask, what do you think science is? Do you think GMOs are good or bad? Do you think climate change is real? You know, and those types of questions, and see what people think. And I'm going to ask them, what do you do for work too? And I want to see what the answers are based on, based on what people's professions are, how people think about science. And if the answers are consistent, from if scientists are pro-GMO, anti-GMO, if non-scientists are pro-GMO, anti-GMO, but if they're, if people across the board are supportive of one type of science but not another. But back to the thing that I brought up and interrupted myself on, because I'm good like that. But if you ask a scientist what science is, they'll tell you it's a means by which we make readily available or apparent observations about the universe, so that we can make predictions based on those observations, or something along those lines. It's a means by which we can better understand the universe. If you ask a non-scientist, I think you'll get the answer. You'll get a list of subjects. You'll get chemistry, biology, you'll get the subjects, not the method. And right. I think that's where there's the start of the disconnect between scientists and non-scientists. And I also think it's weird that I refer to people as scientists and non-scientists, because you don't refer to people as plumbers and when have you ever called someone a plumber?
Maybe plumbers
and a
do. Maybe plumbers do that.
Not enough crack.
I don't know.
Mormons do that.
You guys live in Utah. I don't know. I've never. I've yet to hang out with a giant group of Mormons, but yeah. I'm sure I've heard they're nice. I've heard that Mormons are generally nice people.
Yeah.
It's if you're in a dark alley late at night, you could do worse than accidentally running into a group of Mormons.
Sure,
this is true. Yeah.
But then again,
they might want a 10th wife.
True. And I think you'd make a lovely 10th wife.
Thank you.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, by and large, Mormons are nice people. They're very passive aggressive. Which really, I mean, if you're going to be any kind of aggressive, passive is the best kind, I guess.
I prefer active aggressive, but then again, that's just because I grew up with my mom for a mom, and I'm just I've had enough passive aggressive in my life. Let's change it up.
Right.
So.
Hi, this is Michelle Short.
And this is Stu DeHaan.
And we're the co-chapter heads of the Satanic Temple in Arizona.
You're listening to the Godless Rebelution.
For cool Satan swag, please visit the website shopsatan.com.
Please stand by. The Godless Rebelution will continue in a moment.
You know, a couple of years ago, I debated a guy who insists that the Earth is 6,000 years old. That's completely wrong. That's obviously wrong. And the way we know it is wrong was a result of centuries of study. People found layers of rocks, figured out where the layers came from. People found radioactive elements which chemically substitute into certain crystals in exchange, like rubidium and strontium substitute for potassium and calcium and argon and so on. And this led us to an understanding of the age of the Earth. So if you have a belief system that is incompatible with modern geology, the problem is for the person trying to argue the Earth is extraordinarily young, not for the people who have studied the world around us and understand it.
Rejoining the Godless Rebelution podcast now.
So what took you from being a nice Catholic girl to being an atheist?
Well, clearly because her father gave her such negative emotions about it that she was hurt and left the church.
That's why I was a theater major, because Daddy didn't hug me enough. I tell that story every time, and some people are like, "Oh, she's joking," and some people are like, "Let's see if we can spot the sadness in her eyes." It's true. But the reason why, I mean, I'd already kind of started switching over to like spiritual but not religious. You know, that thing that everyone does in college after they've had one too many one-night stands. But like, Jesus won't accept me, but I'm sure somebody in heaven will. But like. What happened, I was in grad school and my friend Marty, was a Scottish playwright, and we were hanging out at I went to grad school in England, as one does, and we were at his place in London, and after he'd smoked heroin in front of me, he started really, as one does, I promise I didn't.
Yeah, you had a real Marty party.
And he, after he had, finished smoking heroin, again, as one does, he started questioning me on this God that I believed in and started like really fucking hammering away at me. And that whole rule about don't be a dick on the internet, but be a dick in person. And he started just hammering the fuck away at questions and asking, what does God look like? Where does God live? What's this heaven place like? How can you believe in all this stuff and base your life decisions on it and not have a clue about what any of it's like? And I'm like, holy shit, he's right. So a night of my friend smoking heroin in front of me and asking me a bunch of questions started to just fucking unravel my beliefs. So, that's
the Socratic method.
Well, I was going to say heroin kills God for you.
Yeah, my friend smoking heroin. Yeah. I did not smoke heroin.
Well, it was his thoughts while on heroin that killed.
Yes.
So.
Yep. And I mean, at the time, I had no idea what he was smoking because I was later on he told me it was heroin. I thought that it was perhaps I had no idea that this white powdery substance was heroin because I was just so in retrospect, I should have realized that was what was going on. But I didn't realize that somebody would just fucking smoke heroin in front of you. That's not a thing that nice girls that's not a thing that happens to nice girls who are valedictorians of their high school class have happen in front of them when they're visiting their friend in London. That's not how that goes. Those are not things that are supposed to happen to me.
You should have watched Trainspotting before going.
But yeah, so my friend smoked heroin in front of me and I no longer believe in God. That's the short version of that story.
That's pretty cool.
But yeah, and I love telling that story now because it's as some people have, these long spiritual awakenings, or they're like, I saw African children suffering and I no longer believe. I'm like, no, a friend smoked heroin and asked me some questions that I couldn't answer. But it's, I'm glad he did because it's I look at that and go, there's, a lot of different people can find, a big truth out a bunch of different ways. And for me, it was For me, it was a Scottish playwright fucking smoking up and just hammering away at my brain. But I think if I'd known at the time that he was on heroin,
you might have questioned it.
Yeah, I might have dug my heels in and been like, this guy's just high. Fuck that. Like, but it's, not knowing, how out of it he was, probably helps. But yeah, it's, as I like to say, I don't recommend heroin, but I'm okay with what it's done for my record collection. So, but yeah, he was, it was interesting night, and yeah, that's how I became a non-believer. And the other thing is, for a while I kind of would call myself agnostic. And then I think it was actually reading, Dawkins, The God Delusion, that kind of, I think, pushed me over into being comfortable saying the word atheist. And that took a little bit of time. Like, I'm not a huge, like, Dawkins fangirl, but I'm really, glad for, like, the slow bit of conversion that pushed me over into after reading The God Delusion. So,
yeah,
that was
that was a good one. So switching gears a little bit here, you mentioned Dawkins' book and that kind of helping to push you along the lines of atheism. And earlier you mentioned that you're writing a book. What is your book going to be about?
Oh, it's my guide to bullshit detection.
Awesome.
So it's like, and right now it's in the middle of the editing process. And I've learned something about writing a book. Make sure that your editor is not leaving the company when you sign on to a book. Cause that will change the tone of the book quite a bit midway through. So that's been, it's held up it's held up the publication date a little bit, and we've had to do a tone change on it a little bit. So right now I'm in the middle of restructuring it a little, but it's kind of, here's how to detect bullshit in a bunch of different fields. So there's, a chapter on GMOs, chapter on big pharma, a chapter on how to understand how different diets work. And it's like, originally it was, different questions to figure out if something is bullshit. Now it's similar content, but packaged differently. So it's like going to be, before writing it, I did not understand how big of a task writing a fucking book was, especially because I set out to write it right after my thing went viral, and I did not understand how busy life was right after you went viral. At one point, I think I took 14 flights in 6 weeks.
Wow.
And two of them, one of them was to Australia for a 2-week, for a 2-week speaking tour. One was to France for another business trip. Like, it's at the end of that, I got bitch slapped with the worst cold I've ever had. And it's like, and through all this, I had to be writing a book. Like, turned in the first draft. 9 months later, I get the first letter back from my editor. And it wasn't that there was anything wrong with the book. It was that my first editor left the company because they were having some turnover. So it was
just sitting there waiting.
Yeah. So it's like, if I'd known any of the, any of the issues that they had with it earlier, I could have gotten to work on, new bits of editing. But they had a huge amount of turnover in the department that, in the division that signed my book. And that held up the publication by over a year. So it's been hard to work with that when, like I said, I knew nothing about publishing. And that made it a little bit, difficult to get the book out. But it's like, wrote the first draft, sent it in, waited 9 months because they had so much turnover in the division that I was signed to. But I'm really excited about it. It should be out by spring of next year. And I don't know if they're going to keep the original title that I was contracted to, but it's, SciBabe, for now, it's SciBabe's 10 Rules to BS Detection. I don't know if it's going to keep that title or not. But I'm hoping that that's what it stays, because I think it's a catchy title.
Yeah.
Well, and it ties into your stated goal of just teaching people how to think more critically.
Yeah, it's like I want people to be able to like my goal is that by the end of reading it, people will be able to look at a package on a shelf and go, bullshit. This seems kind of evidence-based. All right, this is worth the money or not. And like it's kind of like whenever I do a talk called SciBabe's 10 Rules to BS Detection, that's kind of based on the same thing. And it's like, I start off by, with a little, a meme that's, here's a thing, that I just found floating on the internet. And I could basically open with almost any bullshit meme. And it's kind of, here's a thing of essential oils and here's a list of things that are next to it. And I'll just break down all of the bullshit on it. And it's like, look, when I started my site, I would debunk every last thing, and I would look for any proof that any of it was right. Like it's, the meme that I chose when I started this talk was it was a thing of lemongrass oil. And it had a bunch of words next to the lemongrass oil. And one of the words is salmonella. I'm like, does it cure salmonella or does it make it grow? It says regenerative tissue. I'm like, why aren't we giving it to amputees? Yeah. Does it make you grow a limb? It says help circulation. I'm like, what's the dosage for if you have a heart blockage? And I go through line by line and cross it out for the talk. And I say, after it, and I used to debunk every single thing I saw piecemeal. And this is, I figured there had to be a better way because after debunking with carefully cited sources, I figured out this just makes things smell like lemons and maybe a little bit of grass. And I wanted people to be able to look at something like this and have their bullshit detectors on and know that something like this, if they want to purchase it because it smells good, that's fine, but don't spend extra money because they think it's going to kill salmonella. So how do you figure out when things on the internet are, and I, work at a lot of other funny stuff into there, talking about the fact that everything on the internet is true, attributed to Abraham Lincoln, ha ha ha. It's like find ways to keep the funny flowing, and find ways to get people to think about, what they're looking at on the internet. And it's really geared towards this new strange age of internet, marketing of bullshit, while working on science and working on, and making sure that people understand what a reputable source is, how to vet things that look like reputable sources, but aren't, but are, pay for play journals, that type of stuff. And I really want people to understand, what burden of proof is in science. And it's heavy, but it's kept light with a lot of dick jokes. So that's, like I said, dick jokes, man. It's all about the Zelda, baby. That's all.
Dick jokes and plain Zelda. That's how you write a book.
Oh yeah. That's how you stay sane while writing a book. That'll get you through a lot of life.
And probably helps with the headaches.
There are ways to survive headaches, and it's according to Gwyneth Paltrow, it involves a jade egg in your yoni or a goat milk cleanse. She just did a goat's milk cleanse.
Raw, right? Raw goat's milk.
Raw goat's milk cleanse. Now, what I loved about this is that raw milk only accounts for about 1% of the milk in our dairy supply.
For good reason.
Yeah, I thought our body didn't like to digest that stuff.
Your body digests it about the same way. However,
then you got to get the lemongrass to fight the salmonella and all that.
Exactly. We just don't have enough lemongrass to go around. But here, the problem is that for it only being 1% of the dairy in the dairy supply, it accounts for about 80% of the foodborne illness in the dairy supply. Yeah. That's a little bit of a disproportional fuckery that we have going on. And here's the thing: the reason that she was doing a goat milk cleanse is because some stupid fucking alternative medicine practitioner told her that she had a parasite causing all of her symptoms. Is one of the symptoms having so much money that you're bored? Cause I can help.
I just figured it was easier to get underneath of and suckle the teat.
Yeah,
underneath a goat?
Yeah. It's closer to the ground.
I have a friend with goats. I have a friend with goats. I can hook you up.
Ryan's wearing a shirt with a goat on it right now.
We can get on this. We can make something happen. But
if it's good for Gwyneth, it's good for me.
Do you have a yoni into which we can put a jade egg?
Yeah, he doesn't like them that young. He prefers little peckers.
Whoa!
Or full-grown cocks, maybe.
I am not Catholic.
Oh my. Anyways, so here's. Oh dear. So here's the fun part of this. So one of the infections you can possibly get from right, so Gwyneth Paltrow was doing this because she wanted to clean parasites out of her system. One of the parasites that was listed that she was told she had was Giardia. Want to know what one of the infections you can get from raw goat's milk is? Giardia. Bang! Good job, Gwyneth.
I mean, how did she get Giardia in the first place?
She didn't have it.
There we go.
Oh, well, maybe she was just trying to do like a homeopathic remedy, where if you take small amounts of the Giardia, it will eventually get rid of the Giardia.
See, I thought I had Giardia at one time because I couldn't stop shitting for 3 weeks.
My other theory is that Gwyneth Paltrow is just trolling us. Like, she just wants to see how mad we're gonna get at, like, all of her fuckery.
Sometimes...
I don't know why
Well, I wonder about that sometimes, too, because, honestly, what has Gwyneth Paltrow done lately as far as movies and being in the limelight?
Her boyfriend's hot, like, so she's...
I don't pay attention to that.
You know what? She's 44 and she has better abs than me, so good for her.
She probably has better abs than all three of us, too.
It's, I mean, that's an accomplished, no, it's not.
Well, so then it's working.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
Yeah, all of her stuff is working.
It's like, but here's the one thing that I don't get with all these people that are always on a new diet. Like, why, like, every single time she's on a new diet or a new cleanse, she always says, it makes me feel incredible. It's like, didn't the last one make you feel incredible too? Like, when did you ever feel like shits that you needed this new diet? Like, either, like, and it's, like, cause I've read way too much about Gwyneth Paltrow in the last few days. Like, I've become a I've become a Paltrovian or something. Like a few years ago,
Gwyneth is your Paltronus?
Hey. That's when one day I have to wave my magic wand and have something scare off the Dementors, it's gonna be Gwyneth Paltrow gonna shoot out of my wand. And then an egg is gonna shoot out of her vagina and scare it off. That's the order of operations right there. Oh my god. But she's but it's like at the root of Paltrow, like, I think she's, I think she believes in all of her bullshit. Like, there are some of the bullshit artists that, like, they're trying to make a buck. Like, I think she genuinely is trying to seek something that will make her feel good. But I also think that she just needs to maybe possibly fucking just eat a little more. Like, cause I think, I think bacon would make her feel fucking fantastic. Like, and I'm not saying this to skinny shame, like, as much as that might sound like it, but like one of her diets, like, she's gone on the Master Cleanse one that's literally just lemons, maple syrup, and cayenne pepper, and that literally landed her in the, she's been on a few that have said that, she's been on a couple that she's reported have made her hallucinate. Yeah, that's because of caloric deprivation, Gwynny.
Yeah.
Like, she's been on a few that are known to be incredibly low calorie. And I mean, I get it. I'm not her doctor. I've always said it's dangerous to, make, assumptions based on looking at someone, but she looks, when somebody has their collarbones jutting out, like, if I had to guess at her BMI, it looks like she's underweight. That's just, I don't know, like, if somebody she says she always feels run down, eat a little bit more. You're regularly reporting that, it's like she regularly reports that she feels run down, is always hunting for a diet that won't make her feel run down. Yeah. It's called calories. They make you feel less run down. Yeah, trust me.
That's what I was thinking. I was wondering why she was complaining about Giardia. Like, that's not that different of a cleanse than what she's already been doing.
Yeah.
I mean, just keep it.
It's true.
Blog about that one.
Man.
I lost 15 pounds.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Just by shitting my brains out.
Yep.
Oh man, it's like I guess. Well, detoxes are basically just white girl for diarrhea. So.
But I didn't go on a goat milk cleanse. I got antibiotics.
Oh man, that's all you need. Oh my god,
I stopped shitting.
You don't need to stop. You just need to shit like the right amount.
Yeah, and not liquid.
Yeah, you don't need to stop altogether.
It's like You just need to pee out the correct hole, and you'll be fine.
True. You know what I'm talking about.
I'm not the only one who refers to diarrhea as peeing out of my butthole.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's just nobody ever taught me couth, and that's how I got this mouth.
Well, I think I drank cold water and my butthole got cold.
Oh.
Just passed straight through. Like, I didn't even have time to
What?
warm up in the body.
Oh.
Thank you to everybody who has rated the show on iTunes and Stitcher and are following us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And to all our Patreon patrons, you make the show possible.
Well, so we've got some questions from our listeners that they sent in.
Oh dear.
The first one comes to us from Andrew Vodopich. He says that I'd be curious to hear her take on Dr. Joel Fuhrman's nutritional advice and books. I was really into it back in my less skeptical days. He doesn't seem to be one of the dangerous diet gurus, but looking back, I've become very skeptical of some of his claims. Have you? And I hadn't ever heard of Joel Fuhrman before.
Oh, I have. So Fuhrman, he's the guy who is like, a lot of his stuff is like, do everything plant-based. And like, if you follow Fuhrman's, and I don't know all of the stuff in Fuhrman's, dietary, fuckery. A lot of it.
I know he's big into micronutrients. That you need to eat foods that are rich in micronutrients.
Yeah, I know that he designed a lot of the diet that, Penn Jillette lost a lot of weight on, a couple of years ago. And he, some of his stuff makes sense. Like, he calls it like the nutritarian, diet. And it's like, some of his stuff isn't bad. Like, you'll lose weight and you'll stay, healthy on that. Most people will stay, healthy on his diet. However, he's like, when he pushes like the eating for the micronutrient thing, you don't have to, like, that's the biggest, crux with it. Like, I think he misses the bigger picture in attempt to get you to live on, as he calls it, the micronutrient rich, diet. And that's kind of a bit of an issue. Like, he says you have to eat all whole foods. And that's a bit of an issue for me, because I always say you can eat almost anything in moderation and you'll be fine. Yes, you should, for about 80% of your diet, eat, whole, I hate to use that term, whole foods.
Yeah.
But like, you should, yes, you should live on, mainly, like, about give or take. And this, for whatever reason, we always see, like, the 80-20 rule seems to apply to so many things in life. But you should live about 80% of your diet on, fresh fruits, vegetables, lean protein, whether that's in plant or
bacon.
Yeah, well,
exactly.
And I saw something, so I looked into him a little bit, and I saw something about him being basically a fruitarian, and saying
Jesus.
that I saw something that said that he recommended that you eat 2 pounds of fruits and vegetables per day, half of that being raw and half of it being cooked.
And I've heard that before, and yeah, that can work for some people. However, like, I always say I don't believe his background is, I'm just looking at his educational background right now. He's not a dietitian. This diet isn't appropriate for everyone. And I'm not a dietitian either, but I also consult with dietitians on a regular basis when I'm writing, my blogs and when I'm writing about nutrition. That diet isn't appropriate for everyone. Some people can't handle that much fiber in their diet. Some people have, there's a condition called short bowel disorder, where some people either are born with an excessively short, lower intestine, and they like having that much fiber would literally impede their absorption to the point where they would waste away, and starve to death while eating a ton. And I have a friend with that disorder. She almost died, from trying to eat what would be for most people an incredibly healthy diet. And she ended up in the hospital on IV nutrition, eating 6,000 calories a day to try to gain weight back.
Oh, wow.
She's healthy. she's perfectly healthy now. It's just there's a very weird random list of things she can't eat. People with Crohn's disease couldn't eat this because of the fiber content. And I mean, like, but saying this diet is a perfect diet for everyone, that it shows a lack of, depth in his knowledge about nutrition. Now, on the other hand, that his diet is perfectly healthy for other people. But I like to say people like this push a panacea and say this diet works for everything. And it doesn't work for everything. Like they'll, it's whenever they go and give talks, they'll say, look, it cures. And I mean, I don't know if he personally has said this, but people like Fuhrman will, when they do these documentaries, they'll be like, they'll have somebody come out and say, look, my psoriasis cleared up. Yeah. Look, my eczema went away. And they personally won't say it themselves. Like Fuhrman won't come out and say, look at your acne going away, but they'll have somebody else give a testimonial to say, look at all the wonderful things, and they'll help them sell a few more books and that type of stuff. So that's kind of what we're dealing with someone like Fuhrman. So yeah, eating more vegetables, really good thing. But, he's invented a little niche, a little kitsch to go along with it, his little nutritarian thing. We all know eating more vegetables is a great fucking idea. Lots of fiber heavy vegetables. I have a ton of them in my fridge right now that I eat on a regular basis. You should eat more vegetables. But his reasoning for it and the way he packages it, I don't agree with all of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's people who like him who seem to try to sell a silver bullet to tackle any and all issues that you may have health related. That should instantly set off alarm bells for any good skeptic.
Yes, absolutely. It could easily, one of the things he says is that it can, I believe one of his books is The End of Diabetes. Yeah, you could probably, treat type 2 diabetes with this for some people. And some people, it depends on how long you've had type 2 for. You might always need there are some people who might always need a little bit of insulin, to supplement, even if you, are able to drastically reduce it. But again, he sells a diet plan as a panacea, and I find that incredibly,
everybody's body chemistry is different.
Yeah.
Yep. He's kind of disingenuous, even if he's giving out relatively good advice.
So listener Wes Aaron sent us in 3 different questions. First one, and I'm sure you've heard the name before. I don't know how familiar you are with this person, but he wants to know, where does Orrin Hatch rate on your dangerous scale?
Orrin
Hatch is a politician from here in Utah who gets all kinds of money from MLMs and supplement companies here in Utah.
Oh, motherfucker.
doTERRA.
Yeah.
He gets his money from doTERRA? Seriously?
Yeah, well, a bunch of different MLM companies here in Utah is like MLM capital of the world.
Because Utah has 0 regulations for those companies.
Yeah, and we have a ton of supplement companies here.
How did I not know all this? Like, cause can I just say he sucks and move on with it?
Sure.
It's one of those names that whenever I hear him in the news, I go, for fuck's sake. And I wish I knew. It's one of those things I wish I had more to say on it, but it's like, every time I hear his name, I know it's never attached to anything good.
No, it's not. So Wes's second question says, what site or sites would you recommend for people looking for real science-based healthy food choices?
Let's see. Oh, for healthy food choices. Geez, I wish I had I should have come with a decent, answer for that. But here's the thing is I always say nutrition is really, personal and personalized. But I would like to, recommend, that if you want to know more about what you should be eating, you should go to you should ask your doctor for a referral to a registered dietitian. And speak with them to see, what type of shape that you're in. Number one, please, go to all your regular checkups, see if you're, what shape you're in, see if you need to, gain, lose, all that good stuff, and go to a registered dietitian and have your diet evaluated, responsibly. But that's that's what I would recommend, because I don't think that getting your advice for how you should be eating from the internet is the right way to go.
No, I think that's fantastic bit of advice.
And that's why I say don't get your advice for eating from the internet, because that's because no matter what, like even if you find, like, because I mean, you can find good recipes online everywhere, like, but there's, as for how to eat, like there are a ton of different registered dietitians, and they're always going to tell you, like, they can't tell you from you feeling like without your doctor's evaluation, without personally meeting you, what your condition is. So please, doctor and registered dietitian.
Yeah, so just watch Dr. Oz every day in the morning.
Exactly. That is precisely what I said. Also foodbabe.com, obviously.
Yes.
A++, highly recommend. Changed my life, man. I'm never going back.
Just go see your
and
chiropractor.
always buy organic too. Whew, and kale. Man, I just eat fucking boatloads of kale.
I tried. It tastes like shit.
It's really good if you put it in raw goat's milk.
Oh.
And add bacon.
Yes. Well, I did add bacon when I did make it.
I do that when I wait for my chiropractor. I always like to eat that kale and raw goat's milk.
Wes also wants to know what red flags to watch for when articles are making claims of healthy food or diet options. Do you have any that stick out in your mind?
I think as an article starts claiming that they have a healthy food, it's a red flag. Because, and I mean, here's the thing. It's like
it's a superfood.
Yeah, superfood's a big one. If they tell you can't eat a certain food past a certain age, fuck them. There's no age limit on a Twinkie. Let's see. I don't want to hear moralizing on food. Like, there's no evil food out there. If they talk about a GMO being bad, or something being bad because it has salt in it, or something being, good because it has, certain, like, things are not intrinsically good or bad because of their, contents of macronutrients. Things are appropriate for the time, condition, or dietary needs of the eater. Now, in general, things are, better for you. Now, these are broad, sweeping generalities. Things are better when they are, higher in fiber and higher in, nutrients than if they are loaded with fats and if they are low in nutrient density. Those are broad, sweeping generalities. However, some of us are endurance athletes. Some of us are going to be, need a higher fat diet. Some of us can't do any fat whatsoever. I mean, it depends. I always say, you have to remember that not everyone has the same dietary needs, and you have to look, like, once you start looking at dietary advice from that point of view, everything changes in terms of how you read dietary articles. Like, I kind of follow a plan called If It Fits Your Macros, and I recently started weightlifting and working with a personal trainer, and I track literally every last calorie and every last macronutrient that goes into my mouth. Now, not the micronutrients, the macronutrients, the carbs, fats, and proteins. And it's because I'm trying to build muscle, so I have to make sure that I'm getting the, right quantity of everything. But it means that there's no moralizing on the food. It means that I try to maximize the amount that I can eat by having more vegetables, and having more, lean protein. But also, if I want to have a cookie, I can have a cookie. I just have to count for it. But if I have that cookie, it also means that I reduce the amount of, the volume of other food that I can eat. So I think that anytime you see an article that's telling you that a certain food is, bad for you, it's like, what do you mean bad for me? Do you mean bad for me because it's, it's high in calories? What if I need high calorie food? What if I'm an endurance athlete? What if, it's like, what if I, just lost 30 pounds because I had a fucking intestinal parasite? Like, you have to remember, just like Gwyneth Paltrow.
What if I went on a goat milk cleanse and got giardia?
Yeah, it's exactly. It's like, but I mean, I think that every single article about food, in our time, and I get it, where we are an overweight country in general. I think every article about food assumes that, number one, and this is just something I've noticed because I'll read through websites that are that put headlines together to see what the nutrition headlines are. And in general, the headlines are geared towards women because women do the shopping for the households. And they'll also gear weight loss articles towards women, not men, because men in general will hit the gym and not touch their diet as much. Women try to control their weight through diet a little bit more. So it's interesting how they gear those headlines, and the headlines and the advice are all very specious, and they're all, in general, they don't give any advice above and beyond what people already know, which is, fruits and vegetables good, 18 cookies a day, pretty bad. And then some of the advice is kind of all over the place. It'll be like, peanut butter, good for you in some situations, bad in others. It's like, look, peanut butter has 200 calories in 2 tablespoons of it. If you want to have some peanut butter, but count it, make sure you realize what you're eating. Like it's got some protein, it's got some fat, it's got some carb. Make sure that, like, when you have that peanut butter, if you know how many calories you should be taking in a day, that you accounted for the fact that you had 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, and there's no morality to that one way or another. The calories simply are. They're innocent. You are a sentient adult making decisions about how you're eating. Make sure you count it. And you can have the cookies, you can have the buttered popcorn at the movie. You can also have vegetables. Make sure you have the vegetables first, and then you can fit in some treats, and you're fine.
Okay. I think that's all really great advice. Yeah.
I never leave room for the vegetables.
It's, you know what? Here's the thing. Even if you don't have the vegetables, you can have the treats. Like, just make sure you count them. But seriously, have some vegetables.
I'll cut down my bacon strip intake.
I like you. I want you around for a while, so you should eat some vegetables.
I think I'm like the best in shape person in this room, and I probably eat the most amount of crap food.
Yeah, well, he's also a firefighter. Yeah. And he has to work out for his job.
I used to be I was an ultra runner once upon a time. Of course, it was a few years ago.
Oh,
wow. The last listener question that we got is from Vince Eakin, and he wants to know your thoughts on funding cuts to the sciences under the current administration of Lord Dampnut and his daddy. I'm not sure who his daddy is, but...
Oh, it's Bannon.
Is it?
That's what I think his daddy would be.
I think Bannon's daddy. I don't have enough tissues to cry right now. So, how do I explain this? So science really is hard to fund through private funding. And there are a lot of reasons for that now. Science gets more funding than I think people understand, both through university level and through, and private research associations, from the government. And the NIH will be virtually crippled. And all of the wonderful things that we enjoy, a lot of the wonderful things that we enjoy in life will cease to get better, if we lose funding from the NIH. The EPA is not just about, climate change. The EPA also, regulates and controls the flow of pesticides that U.S., firms, places like AMBAC that I used to work, places like Monsanto that I get it. Some people don't like, but fuck them.
Yes, preach it. Thank you.
I went to visit Monsanto and they were wonderful to me. And I mean, if you have a chance to, and you're in St. Louis, they'll give you a tour. They're very public about it. They're very open to the public, and they'll answer all of your questions.
So they're transparent.
Yeah, exactly. They're completely transparent about everything that they do there. I mean, it's like they have proprietary things that they don't want you to see, but that's every company ever.
Yeah.
You know what I love? I love that you just came on and said that and didn't even know what our views on Monsanto were.
Oh yeah, I'll fucking fight you if you don't like Monsanto. Like, I will get, that is one thing that I will get into the fucking weeds with people on if they don't like it. I'm like, you don't like Monsanto? Let's get onto the fucking carpet now.
Well, because this comes from the anti-science left wing.
I mean, it's so, but like, here, let me finish up my thing on the funding thing. But like, I don't think when people hear about cuts to the EPA, I don't think they understand in order to keep U.S. businesses that employ a lot of wonderful people, our friends, our family, places like Monsanto have, and especially Monsanto has a 100% rating from the Human Rights Campaign in terms of their treatment, and employment of LGBT, employees. They, have to go through the EPA in order to keep their pesticides registered in other countries. This is how these things work. We have to, and I mean, when I worked at AMVAC, I remember in order to keep the things that we sold to other countries registered there, we have to keep them in stock with the EPA. That's part of how that works. And if we cut funding and cut jobs at the EPA, that slows down the flow of traffic, and that slows down pesticides that farmers in other country need. They can't be used, I believe is how that works, if they're not registered there. It will be illegal to apply them. That will screw up crops in other countries. That will screw up crops here. Do we want that? No. I hope that people understand the far-reaching implications of what happens when you start cutting people. Now, someone will say, oh, that just won't be the case anymore. You'll be able to use it without registration. No. Because this is why there are bad regulations. That happens every so often. But if you have a regulation in place saying these things need to be certified to be safe, I like having a heavily regulated environment around pesticides because that way I can guarantee to people without, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that the pesticides that we're spraying on food that I like to eat too, I can guarantee to people that they've been tested and they're safe. You get rid of that environment, you get rid of that regulatory environment, how can I say to people that they're safe anymore? I can't.
If you have questions, comments, concerns, compliments, corrections, criticisms, or concepts for content, contact the show via email at godlessrebelution@gmail.com, by text or voicemail at 330-81-REBEL, or Twitter the twatter at TGR Podcast. Thank you!
We have those regulations now because in the past we've done things to plants and animals and thought, oh, this would be alright, and oh, wait, this is not good.
Yeah, it's I think that's the lesson, is that we've been there before.
Yeah.
And we got smarter about it, and we added regulations so that we could be smarter and better. And we're in the safest environment we've ever been in for all of us. And for some reason we think we can just get rid of them.
Yeah.
And it'll be fine. No, we're here for a reason. And we're at those points. So yeah, we cut funding. We don't just get rid of research. We get rid of our ability to maintain the safety that we have now. And I don't know what goes first. And I don't know how they're going to manage it. And that horrifies me. So yeah, fuck Lord Dampnut and the fucking nut.
Yeah, this is Dan. I work with a fucking ignorant shithead who is so fucking right wing that when we got in an argument a while back, I said, well, you get all of your news from Fox. And he said, no, I don't. I get it from Newsmax. And I thought, that's worse. That's not any better. That's worse. But
let me guess. Did he also, did he say the next that he's well, I get some of it from InfoWars.
I'm sure he does. But yesterday when I was in the office, we had a team meeting and my boss said something about, he had been back in DC and they announced all of these cuts to the EPA. And he said the day that they announced those cuts, they had people standing outside the Metro Rail stations, from companies in California, courting people who were leaving the EPA's building saying, hey, we understand your funding has been cut a ton. Come and work for us at this company in California. And this fucking ignorant shithead that I work with said, oh yeah, well, it's a good thing they're cutting that. I mean, what a wasteful fucking, he didn't say fucking because he's LDS, but he just said, what a wasteful organization that is. I wanted to come across the table and choke the life out of this ignorant fuck because he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about for anything politics related. He drives me fucking crazy.
Wow. I don't think when people say these things, I think either number one, they don't understand all the things that the EPA does, or number two, they just don't fucking care. And I'm not sure which is worse.
Yeah, I think for him, he views the EPA as that organization that thinks that climate change is real. Am I right?
Oh God. And it's like, I wonder, and I mean, here's the thing, like, whenever I try to talk to someone who's that, far gone, like, I kind of try to take the
baseball bat to the head?
Yes, that too. But no, I try to take the position of the gouverneur, which is, even if you don't believe climate change is happening, which makes you a fucking moron, don't you want clean air? What the fuck is wrong with you? I want, never mind. I'm not even going to try to convince you. Why don't you want a more efficient car? Don't you want a car that uses less gas? Why do you want to pay more for gas? The fuck is wrong with you? Here's the one thing that we do have to remember as liberals is that even like electing a liberal for president is not going to magically give us enough solar energy, the infrastructure to implement solar tomorrow.
No.
It just won't happen. It's going to take us a good 3 decades at least, before we can switch over to renewables. And that's just because, number one, we don't have the technology yet to be able to do it. Number two, we don't have the infrastructure. We don't have our solar capture capability isn't good enough yet. So we need to pour more money into research. And number two, we need to start making the infrastructure to be able to do enough solar capture or figure out if there's another way other than just solar, to be able to do all the things we want to, with renewables. So yeah, there are other, there are reasons why we haven't moved over to other forms of energy other than, coal and gas. But we can't do it overnight. It's going to take time, but we need to pour a lot of money into research. And I think that us liberals need to understand that, and we need to we need to figure out that the money needs to go not to switching over quite yet, but into more research to make the technology better. And I hope that, I want Republicans to understand that we understand that, so that when we, have those conversations, that people understand what page we're on, when we're pushing for renewable energy. Because, when I tell my, Republican friends, it's like, look, when I say we can't switch overnight, they go, oh, you're one of the good liberals. I'm like,
no, it's
like,
the obvious answer.
I'm like, no, that's not, none of my liberal friends think that we're switching overnight. They all know that we can't. We have to do more research because it's not there yet. Only way
we have to get started on it, now.
Yeah, exactly. But none of my other liberal, the other thing is that, and I mean, we have to look at the economic reality of this, is that solar is only going to work when it's going to make, number one, when it makes somebody money, and number two, when it's cheap enough that it will be, that when some hick in West Virginia, sorry to anyone who's listening from West Virginia,
no, fuck them.
Is able, hey, let's
we just lost 10 listeners.
Hey, you know what? Let's be a little bit better. Let's remember, there's a reason why those people voted for Donald Trump. Number one, stupidity, but number two, because they're hurting. But because they're hurting out there. There was a video, I mean, and they are in economically fucked times. So, I mean, when one day they are able to take all those jobs that were once at a horrible, coal mine and build a factory out there where they can put together, some solar panels at a price at which people can afford them, and at a price that makes them a good living, that will be a wonderful time for them. And they'll say, coal mine, what? Fuck that place. I am making solar panels and I'm making a better living now. And I like this. Why did I ever cry about the coal mine? So we have to find a way that we can do that. And that's going to be so much better, for everyone involved. But you know what? We have to remember that those people are feeling pain too. They made a bad decision based on that pain. But maybe we as liberals need to remember that they're hurting. There are towns out there that used to have 100,000 people with jobs, and they were shitty jobs, but they paid the rent.
Oh yeah, I think we all recognize, at least here in the studio anyway, recognize that they were hurting. But I mean, the number one reason that you stated, and I agree with, that they voted for Donald Trump is one, because they're stupid. And I get that. I mean,
Bernie was available.
I mean, I
at
understand
least for a time.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that they're hurting, but Donald Trump isn't the one who's going to help them either. I mean, he's already instituting things that are going to harm them more than help them in the long run too. So
I have nothing good to say about Donald Trump. It's nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all recognize they're hurting. They're just, I don't know. I struggle with how to best communicate with them about, you're wrong on these things, and ultimately you are harming yourself through your actions of continually voting for people who fuck you over. We're trying to help you out, and you view us as these liberal intellectual elites who are going to fuck you over, but that has not been the case. We're trying to help you progress past dragging your knuckles around.
I always, and this is something I worked on a campaign a couple of years ago, and I would always start by asking people, what do you think would help? Do you think that you would want a job other than a coal mine? Would you work something like why did you want the coal mine back? Is it just because you want a job, or do you want the coal mine job? So I always ask people questions as opposed to, saying I'm trying to help you, because, it's why, like someone tends to respond a little bit better when you ask them how they're doing, as opposed to saying, I'm trying to help you. Like, it's like, well, fuck you. It's like they, not like we're standing there in West Virginia talking to these people right now, but it's like at the same time, I hope that, whoever the next, Democrat, nominee is, will go to West Virginia and try to ask these people, what do you want from me? I think that's an excellent point. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, how can I help you? What can I do when I'm in office to make your pain not be there anymore? Because you're part of America too. And you need to not be feeling, forgotten anymore. And I'm obviously making my campaign speech now. People have heard far too much about my Zelda, now.
Clinton did fine. Bill, not Hillary.
Yeah, but note my gender. It will be a long time until we see another female nominee do well.
That's
just saying,
sad thing.
We can sit there and tap dance around it and say all day long that we think that that there was no misogyny in the campaign. Yeah. And we can say but
that's bullshit.
It's like, I get it that she wasn't, someone can go, she was a flawed candidate. What do you think Trump was?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like every single, you look at every picture of every president who has ever, who's 1 through 45. They were all flawed candidates. All of them. Yep. At one point, every single one was a flawed candidate. No one had it pointed out quite as much as Hillary Clinton did, while she was up against a much more flawed, much less qualified person.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just saying. So, what could it possibly have been? What could it possibly have been? There's a small little, I'm guessing 3-inch difference between the two of them.
Yeah, that's about the size of a standard Zelda.
I'm guessing.
I thought it was how much bigger her hands were.
You meant Trump's, yeah. Right.
I'm guessing 2-inch then. Maybe I was giving him too much credit.
I've seen the statues. I think you're giving him way too much credit.
I was just giving a guess. I was just shot in the dark.
I wonder if he does the golden thread swirl downstairs.
Oh.
Am I missing a joke, or
I don't know? It's not. I never make jokes.
He makes attempts at jokes.
Yeah, thank you, Dan.
Oh man.
No, so this is Dan again. One of my things that I'm very passionate about is trying to tamp down ignorance about GMOs and people who participate in the Million Mom March against Monsanto.
Oh my God.
You know
that they have like less than 100,000 people in the Million Mom March. That seems like they're not very good at math or science.
So,
right, yeah.
And when I first started talking about GMOs, initially, this was back when people were throwing around memes of Frankenfood and, with a needle in a tomato and that kind of stupid shit. And I thought, well, yeah, that sounds bad. And then I actually did a little bit of research and I was like, oh, you people are all fucking stupid. You don't know what you're talking about. What's the most frustrating thing that you hear about GMOs from people repeatedly to this day?
Oh my God, I don't even know where to start.
Agent Orange.
No, that's Monsanto.
Let's see.
But people tie Monsanto and GMO together.
Oh yeah, it's there's a let's see. Because I relatively recently wrote an article on 10 GMO myths and misconceptions, or 10 bullshit arguments against GMOs, and it's funny because I wrote it for Cosmo, and part of we're going to do a twofer on this one. Whenever this is something that happens a lot. People will say, how do we reach these 24-year-old women who keep going on cleanses? Because we want to get this information out to them. And I'm like, and then I'll read an article in Cosmo. And my readers who know I write for Cosmo will be like, I can't take this seriously. This is in Cosmo. I'm like, for fuck's sake, what do you want me to do? I'm like, you told me to write an article so that the people who need the information will get it. And now you're complaining that I wrote for, God damn it.
How do I reach these kids?
Oh, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ren. Let's see. So, let's see. One of the regular ones is that they're not tested, and then and it's like I'm like, what do you think? I'm like, they take over 10 years to get into the food supply. Like the Simpsons with the tobacco, it's not a fucking documentary. Like ditto Spider-Man, not a documentary. Like these things are tested. Let's see, another one. There are a handful of them. Let's see, the pesticides like Roundup that are used with GMOs are worse than older pesticides. And I mean, my God, the rumors with Roundup are crazy, and they never go away. I mean, I could probably write a whole article on just Roundup alone. But Roundup is less toxic than table salt. I believe it's less toxic than aspirin, less toxic than
Skittles.
It's less toxic than whatchamacallit?
Caffeine.
Less toxic than vinegar, less toxic than caffeine. But I mean, Roundup replaced a ton of older pesticides that were much more hazardous. And it's very well targeted to a specific, specific mechanism within the plant. And so you can use less of it. And I mean, people will say, but look at Roundup use. It's gone way the fuck up. I'm like, yeah. And so have, iPhone sales since they came on the market. Right. It's crazy. There were
the population.
Yeah. It's like there were virtually no iPhones back in the year 2000. It's like crazy. It didn't exist yet.
All those damaging Wi-Fi's and Bluetooth.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, but it's there. Yeah, let's see. GMOs are killing the bees. That's one I've heard. Zero evidence of that. The biggest thing that, had been killing the bees, was a parasite, called the, varroa mite. And it's about, it's like, compared to the bee, pretend you are a bee for a moment. Go ahead, Buzz, if you would like. Pretend.
Why is my ass all black?
Too many jokes. Moving on. But if you were a bee, it'd be like about the size of a fist, just attached onto you, sucking nutrients and just sucking the life out of you, attached to your, to wherever on you choose to put your fist. But yeah, that's how big that's how big compared to the bee, the varroa mite is, and they'd been attacking the bees for a while. So while they were doing, an investigation on, neonics to see if, and I mean, that was the pesticide they expected, suspected might have been, harming the bees. They did find ways to make sure that the neonics weren't going onto the parts of the plants that the bees, were pollinating, because, as much as people like to say, oh, big ag doesn't care about, doesn't care about farms. It's like, what are you talking about? If the farms go away, big ag does not make money.
Yeah, exactly.
farmers that have had farms in their family for 5 generations lose their fucking farms. Are you crazy? Let's see, GMOs make you fat. No, they don't. Let's see, they're in a lot of foods that can make you fat, but like, so are a lot of things. Like, you can make a GMO-free candy and like, it's still fucking candy. Like, there's nothing in it intrinsically that can make you fat. But yeah, all the rumors that I've heard every single one of them it's like basically people hear a GMO and they lose their fucking mind. And there's nothing about going in with with a microscopic little knife and, changing a couple of genes in something that suddenly makes it pernicious. That it's just people are suspicious of it because I believe it was an old quote from Douglas Adams. Every technology that's on the market when, I'm paraphrasing this, every technology that exists when you're born is perfect and good. Everything that comes out until about the age of 35, is new and wonderful and revolutionizes your life. And everything that happens after the age of 35 is looked at with suspicion and is out to kill you. And that's kind of the thing with GMOs. Like, they've been out for 20 years now, and there are people that are going to keep saying, we need more data until I'll trust it. And it's like, we've seen the data. Like, we've seen more data on this than we have on, certain medications that we're just kind of used to by now.
Right.
And some people still just don't trust it and just will never trust it. And like, I think they'll be out for 100 years, and some people, celebrities that like to pretend they're scientists, are still going to be crying out for more data. And at this point, like, because I understand how science works, I intrinsically trust it at this point because I understand them. And, that's the thing, is that, like, looking at how the science works is the mother of all understanding it. And that's like, Bill Nye at one point was anti-GMO. He did his research and he went, oh, this works. This is good. So
yeah, the whole evidence thing's kind of a
Oh yeah.
I think what bothers me most about the GMO argument is that once you start talking to somebody who is anti-GMO and asking them why, they'll give you an answer. And then you provide a response to that. They'll say, well, it's killing the bees. And you say, well, no, it's not. It's the varroamite. Here's the research behind all of that. Actually, bee populations have seen an uptick in recent years. It's not GMOs. Then they'll say, well, they cause cancer. Well, no, they don't. That was a bad study. This guy used rats that are predispositioned for tumors. That was all bullshit. Well, they're not tested well. Actually, they're tested more than organic hybrids or a whole bunch of other organic things that you would see out there. Well, it's the pesticides. And, they go through this list and this litany of excuses. And it's like, how many of your bullshit arguments do I have to rebut before you just go, oh okay, well, I had these 10 arguments and you've laid them all waste now, and why won't I just accept that GMOs are fucking fine?
Oh yeah. I had somebody tell me that they weren't tested, and when I explained how carefully they were tested, she was like, well, I want something that's just done naturally that isn't that tested. I'm like, God damn it. You just don't like it because you don't like it. Admit it. Like,
I'll just tell them to go eat dirt then.
She's like,
it's natural and it's not tested.
She's like, well, I don't like that it's making money for a corporation. I'm like, bitch, you work for a corporation.
I think you mean cunt.
You know my feelings on those words. They're my favorite words.
Well, and then they throw out the thing about, well, they're putting patents on their foods. Well, sure. Yeah, they are. Just like any company who spends millions of dollars in research to create a thing, they put a patent on the thing so that not everybody can just use the technology that they've created over decades and spent millions and millions of dollars on.
Yeah, they don't care about artists putting copyrights on their material.
Right.
Oh, yeah, and it's I think they do patent it, but after a certain number of years, they come off of patents. And I mean, this is, if you don't like people patenting things, then you're going to have to say that you don't like Disney either, because Disney is the worst when it comes to patenting things. They and I mean, Disney, like, changed the patenting laws so that their cartoons couldn't go into the public domain pretty much ever. And most of their cartoons should be by now, but they changed it so that basically if you use an image from Disney ever, you're gonna get your ass sued. But I mean, at this point, most of the stuff from I believe the first set of GMOs from Monsanto have come off of at this point they've come off of patent at this point. They're in the public domain. I believe it's the Roundup Ready soy is no longer patented.
Yeah. Well, you have been incredibly generous with your time this evening. Before we let you go, where can people learn more about you and what you're doing?
Pornhub. I mean, damn it. Sorry.
I've frequented there. I don't know if I've seen you.
Well, that was your earlier work, right?
We don't like to talk about, my agents don't like it when I talk about that. But silly agents. Moving on. I'm going to get a lot of new followers now.
Everyone's already typing up Zelda on Pornhub.
They're going to be sorely disappointed. But yeah,
they're going to find someone.
They're going to find someone who's not me, that's for sure. But yeah, you guys can hunt me down over at SciBabe.com and at Facebook.com/SciBabe. And if you want to find my tweets, they're mostly political at the SciBabe.
You are an absolute delight.
Thank you for having me. It's been a lot of fun. You guys have a wonderful night. I will talk to you later.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We'll have to have you back on again sometime.
Cool. Definitely.
Well, thanks, Yvette. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Well, thank you all very much for listening. I want to thank Yvette D'Entremont, the SciBabe, again, for coming on the show. She was delightful.
D'Entremont.
Yes. I also want to thank our Patreon subscribers, Christy, Andrew, Wesley, Utah Outcasts, Andy, Taylor, Grant, and Savid.
We love all of you.
Thank you all so much. If you would also like to become a subscriber, you can do so by going to patreon.com/GodlessRebelution. You can follow us on all of the places like Facebook and Twitter, and you can find our show all over the place. You can also find us on YouTube. Go out and like us on YouTube and subscribe. That would be awesome. We'll go and like our page on Facebook. Rate the show wherever you can find it. We would greatly appreciate you doing all of those things. And I'm tired and my allergies are acting up, so I'm going to go now.
What? Dan's going to go play with the Zelda.
No, I'm gonna go take a Allertech and go to bed.
Me and Ryan are gonna go drive for 40 minutes.
Next week we've got my friend Jason Stock gonna be on the show.
He's gonna be in studio, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. We'll have some beers and chit chat about atheist shit. All right. Well, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday to Ryan Duffy.
Yep.
Is Laurie your mama?
Yep.
Ha!
That's why I'm in the picture and she's behind me in the picture.
My fucking allergies, man. Wouldn't fuck with my voice and shit. You guys ever do that where you just get like this catch in your throat and you're like, oh, great, there goes my voice now.
No. I don't have allergies, so.
It's got to be the cancer. Jesus.
And her family is Mormon, and as she's said, like they're nicest group of wrong people you'll ever meet.
Yeah. Were you guys like, Matt hasn't really been mad for a while. Let's do a story about church and guns. And guns.
And church and cops and guns. It'll be fine, I'm sure.
Hello, this is Yvette D'Entremont, the SciBabe, and you're listening to the Godless Rebelution, and you can find me at...
Everyone does it, don't worry.
Hi, this is Yvette D'Entremont, the SciBabe. You can... God damn it.
She's a lot of fun.
She is a lot of fun.